It's like this meeting, we'll call the meeting to order, and we'll stand, say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first of all, we've got the agenda in front of us. Do we need to make any additions to this agenda that was mailed out?
One item we'd like to have added from staff is consideration to purchase, it's called an add-a-phase machine for the electric department. And Joel will go into greater detail on that when we arrive at the subjects. That'd be 16A under
Okay.
the business.
Got anything else, Nick, or anybody? Now, do we have people here for a reason that's on the agenda type of thing?
Boulevards.
Well, so
I'm going to go out on a limb. Say it's boulevards.
So I kind of want to put you up in front so you're not sitting here for us for an hour and then. So can we sneak them in? It's not really a public hearing, is it?
Yeah, we can throw them in right after approval of agenda.
Because that approval after, we'll put down.
Wouldn't be a public hearing, but
You call it public forums.
yeah.
Other forums, 4A. Okay, that means, so, anything else in the agenda, any changes, anything that they've seen that, all right, the approval agenda, all's favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. All right, no public hearing, so the forum is up. And do you want to speak first about what went through, Nick, or do you want them to talk a little bit, or?
I can certainly preface things, and then you guys can certainly come up and give the council your observations as well. So last week, Thursday and Friday, the contractors for the infrastructure project were doing boulevard work. They were backfilling dirt, doing hydro seeding, and laying down seed. That was occurring on Thursday and Friday, and after the weekend, city staff, we received a number of complaints from residents saying the quality was very poor, the workmanship was poor, type of soils used that were put in were substandard. And we went out there and took a look, and as city staff, we agreed with them wholeheartedly that it was substandard work that was performed. We then got a hold of the city engineering firm as well as the contractors for the project, and then on Monday afternoon, early afternoon, we met out on site to review the complaints that we had received. And the city engineering firm and the main contractor, MR Paving, for the general contractor for the project, agreed that it was substandard. It was not work that should have happened, and they agreed they would take measures to have that corrected. I believe the first step was they're going to bring in a crew, start raking out all of the large clumps of rock hard dirt that were there, and then also pick rock, get rid of the foreign debris that was in there. There were scraps of metal, there was wood, there were other things found in there. And then they need to fill in some low spots, taper things off. Unevenness was that there were large sections of that, and they said they would look at running some more dirt through a sieve this time to make sure it was better quality, bringing that in and doing some top dressing in that area. Did they get out with the crews yesterday to do any raking?
No.
Not yet? Okay. But they
I
still
talked to Tony tonight, and he said, he asked how much rain we got, and he said I told me better off waiting another day to let it dry out before they come. So. Otherwise, it's just going to be too muddy and make a mess.
Yeah.
So I told him just to wait another day at least to see how it dries out. So.
But yeah, with that, I can completely understand where you guys are coming from. You went a winter without pavement, and now to have the first run at boulevards like that, it's a double slap in the face.
Well, yeah, and just if it's not good enough yet, let us know. I think there's a 2-year warranty where I had mine we did in my street, or after 2 year, mine sank. It settled. And they were kind enough to come back a year later. They had a bunch of dirt sitting out somewhere out there, black dirt. And came in and refilled it in. But
I think that's our main concern. We just want you guys to be aware of it.
yeah, I drove by there. It looked crappy.
Driving, it looks good.
Walk through it.
But yeah.
And some of it got hydro-seeded, some of it didn't. You know, I mean, I think they were in such a hurry on Thursday and Friday, it was like they were gonna get fined if they didn't get it done. And maybe there was a deadline.
Nope.
I don't know.
We've internally extended the substantial completion just with the weather events.
They were in such a hurry, and then nobody overseeing anything there. You know, this, I don't know who Tony should have been. This Shane was there a fair amount of the time, but
There was a failure on that part, you're absolutely correct.
I
The
never
engineering
seen.
firm didn't have the field engineer out there observing, making sure it was taking place. Why that didn't happen, I'm not sure, but it's still a failure. The engineers did own up to that.
That was one bad, because they would have never put that in otherwise. I mean, there was chunks this big rolled out of the truck, and then they took and put the skid steer and threw it on the lawn and drove over the top of it with the skid steer to pat it down.
Yeah.
And then you try to move that after that? You know, I mean, and I don't know, you know, this ain't the right time of the year to be seeding. You know, anybody with a little bit of common sense kind of knows that, so I don't know what's gonna come up or what, but
Well, if they
I
have
think
to,
they should assess it like in August or September and see what it looks like, and if nothing else, come in until and level and do a good job of seeding, as everybody knows when you seed in September or so, you got, it gets a start and it's there in the spring of the year.
I think that one time, Don, excuse me for interrupting you, didn't the fire department, because it got late on one street project, go around water? I mean, they went around at one point, I remember
I
one
was the
street,
chief back then.
We have already.
We did. We watered a lot of.
you know,
sod
so I
and
mean,
some
if,
people.
That was sod, yeah, that was sod.
That was-
Yeah.
sod,
It was sod.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I just wanted to say, once I was gone all weekend, you know, we were arrived home Sunday evening, started the process, contacted Joel and Nick, and, you know, they stepped up to the plate, and I got to hand it to them. All the boys were there Monday afternoon, could talk to them, you know, and they agreed, but and I appreciate that. You guys did a nice job for us. But the way to me, it feels like they almost felt they could pull this over on us. Dump this shit. Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't worry, it's on camera.
Dump this on everybody's lawn, you know, no one's gonna say nothing. You know? And then they said they'll clean it up and address it, but I just want to make sure that that happens.
well, keep an eye on it.
Keep on top of them, make sure they
There
don't.
was
Yeah.
just the number of sloppy things that I seen, and I wasn't around a lot this spring, I was gone, you know, but, you know, there was plastic bottles that got covered up in along the, when they poured the curb along next to the curb, and just stuff that they never cleaned up. I caught them at some rocks right next to my driveway, and I told them about it. And, oh yeah, we'll remove them, yeah, we'll remove them. And I went farming one day and came home late that night, and I went out there with my light and a shovel, and shoveled down, and them rocks were covered up with sod. That the backhoe, they just brought some dirt up against the curb. And it was covered up. Next morning, I was waiting around there for one of the M&R guys, and one was there the other day, and I grabbed him by the nose and went right over to that spot. But then it laid there for about a day or two before they got removed. But they didn't get removed. But,
Good on you.
you know,
Keep it on.
just sloppy stuff like that.
Mailboxes,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
mailboxes,
Oh,
they
my
put
God.
3 feet apart from each other.
Those were done incorrectly too.
There ain't one of them that's the right height.
Mhm.
We did Lance's, me and Lance did his, and he hadn't gotten mail for a whole week, so I told him Sunday, I said, let's go dig this in, then it's done right, at least we got one right in the block. And well, then that same day, you know, Lori came and she
Yeah.
went down to Lance's and, you know, that one was fine, but
Yeah, she
the other
did.
ones were way off the rockers.
I mean, before they make last payment of something, can somebody have kind of a walkthrough, Joel, with maybe?
You do a walkthrough at the final, so.
And we do hold 5% retainer. So 5% of all construction monies are held back to ensure things are completed.
For the 2 years then?
Until everything is verified that they're completed.
Right.
So mailboxes are right, grass is established. Before we release the retainer, we make sure, I'd have to read the specs again, but in the past infrastructure projects I've been a part of, you need about 80% grass establishment before the city will sign off on it. So they have to establish the boulevard. Now, it's always helpful when the resident helps establish the boulevards. Of course, it's not required, but they have to establish it to that threshold before we'll say, yep, you're
So
good.
they'll water it?
They're supposed to establish it, whatever that takes. And if they have to come back year after year after year to get it established, that's what it takes.
Because there's a few of us now, Pat Schreiner, he kind of touched his up and went and got some fine dirt, and also I did. And I don't know if anybody else really did, so.
I just raked up all the lumps in the piles for them.
I
They said they'd come and get them, so I thought, well, I'll rake them up, and then I know.
I did on mine, I told them leave the pile back there because I don't trust it sinking again. It sank a little bit more after they came back to fix it. But they just left the pile kind of in the alley so I could use it
Yeah,
as
that's
I
a
wanted
good
to.
idea.
So
That's an ideal spot.
so you guys don't have to go run too far if you can document leaving some nice black dirt someplace for you to.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So I just wanted to voice our opinion.
So, yeah, it just,
Let you
you know,
guys
I
know.
mean,
So it's kind of in the engineer's hands then, to make sure these things, or is it in yours and Joel's, or how?
Engineers are responsible for oversight, but we keep eyes on it too. We serve you guys. We want to make sure we get a good product out of this. We're paying big bucks for it.
Thank you.
All right?
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else done with that? All right. Consent agenda 5 through 12, anything?
Mayor?
Yes? We have?
Anything else?
Okay, is there anybody, anything else?
Any other items? Okay. You're with the newspaper?
No, I'm here
She's
with
with
all
me.
the loggers.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
Sorry,
That's how I've seen her.
it was a new face, so I wasn't sure. Just wanted to make sure
Thank you.
there was anything. I apologize.
No problem. All right, consent agenda 5 through 12. Anybody have anything that, any questions on there or to pull out to discuss more or anything? Anybody? All right, need approval for consent agenda 5 through 12. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda unanimously. New business 13, the seal coating.
So in your packets, you had the map of the proposed area for the 2019 seal coat. And then in the extras that you got on the table, probably one of the first things on there after the updated claim for payment. On the once it'll be from SEH, you'll see on there, and on one side, one has the timetable that they're approximately looking at, the other side is the cost estimates they've put together that they'll be bidding out. So as you can see on the map, we're looking at going from that 6th Avenue all the way down on 1st Street Southeast, crossing on 7th Avenue Southwest, and then doing 10th Avenue and 3rd Street East, kind of in the squiggly black marked area. And that would complete the areas that were done, the infrastructure project that was done in the 2012 infrastructure project area. So that was the area we targeted, brought it past the streets and sidewalks committees. They thought it was a good plan to go with as well, so bringing it forward to council for full approval. With that, we have the cost estimates, and if you can see their overall estimated project cost for the Fairfax's portion is $48,263. For comparison's sake, in our 2019 budget, we have $55,000 allocated to do crack filling, seal coating, and patching of streets, so we're well within there. And then for the next item on number 14, for the crack filling, we've included in there, that's the low quote on that was just under $2,000. So we've still got about $4,800 left over in that budget to do some patching, and we do have to do striping on Park Street this year too, because that was seal coated last, the downtown area. So we'll get that taken care of. But, so, just an overview of that, so looking for approval to move forward with that proposed area.
13, motion to, any more questions on it? Approval of the 2019 seal coating. Brian makes motion.
I'll second it.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to consider, or to approve the 2019 seal coating. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 14, kind of went over that as well. Need a motion to approve the crack filling.
I'll make a
You gotta
motion.
accept the.
Gotta approve a bid.
The two quotes.
Oh, the minutes, yeah.
Yep, we had the two quotes, one from Ground Zero Services, who did the seal coating last year. They came in at $1,924. And then Bargain Incorporated came in at $3,975. So our recommendation would be go with Ground Zero Services to do this, the routing and the crack filling.
Now, I saw a couple of areas that you've had circled where, you know, the potholes, you're gonna have someone come in and saw that out and refill with.
Yeah.
That's not part of either one of these two?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
We'll use the leftover budget to get as much patching as we can get done.
Okay.
Yep.
All those white areas. Okay, so need a motion again to approve the crack filling with Ground Zero Services as the winning bid for 1924.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the crack filling and seal coating 2019 with Ground Zero for 1924. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 15. That's this little picture here of this property. Looks like this.
I'm going to also bring up a map here for people in the audience to see too.
And then there's a resolution in here that's different that he added on that we kind of got that.
So the items number 15 and 16, I'll go over together here. We'll need separate motions for each of those, but they relate to the same topic. Up on the screen here, this is Elm we have here. Here's 7th Avenue, and this is the entrance road to Lions Park. Our ball fields are over here, just to give everybody orientation. And this is a property owned by Steve and Patricia Klobus. They are selling the property, and during the title work which was being done, it was discovered by the attorney that you can see this red strip in here out in front, and then this pie-shaped piece. The red strip out in front is a section between the right-of-way, so it's not part of the right-of-way. So it's between the right-of-way and the frontage of the existing property that is actually still owned by the city of Fairfax. So trying to clean up some of this title work, and it's the same story with the pie-shaped piece. All this time, the Klobuses kind of thought they owned all of that, and if you drove by, you probably would think the same. So trying to clean up the property, get that small section out in front, joined together with the existing parcel, and then they had also requested that pie-shaped as well. And after discussing with the attorney, Mr. Blumhofer, they have agreed to, I think the boulevard piece we could probably turn over for no cost, but Mr. Blumhofer has agreed to pay the city a minimal amount of $500 for that pie-shaped piece, since it's a bit larger piece of property. It's not big enough that you could build anything on it. Our zoning ordinance requires at least 7,000 square feet of land mass in order to build upon it. This is under that. It doesn't have any proper ingress or egress means off the right of way, so it's an unbuildable lot by zoning standards. So it wouldn't be good on its own for anything other than adding to the property. So that is the long and short of it. So the two resolutions we have for 15 and 16, one conveys the property right there, the other conveys this property. This would be at no cost, but this one would be for the $500.
So who actually is paying for it? Who did you say, Blumhofer?
The $500,
Yeah.
that would be handled through the law firms.
What was the Blumhofer part?
He was a lawyer.
He's the
Oh,
fire-
okay. I
He
didn't-
did the title work.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't get that.
He did the title work for Clovis's or whoever's
Okay.
buying it. And that's when they found this, what they thought, well, especially that small red line, was probably some
Yeah.
goof, but, so,
And they were okay with it?
Yep, everybody on that side is all right with everything. It just is now here for city council approval. There is a new resolution in your packet that would replace the original 2019-10 resolution. The original resolution just conveyed the property without monetary compensation.
That's what I thought.
The new resolution conveys the property with the $500
Okay.
compensation.
and the way to look at it too, that pie-shaped one, that also goes on the, property tax payroll now. You know, so for $500, you know, I get to have it, and it goes on the, so. All right, I think this is kind of a simple process, so number 15 will be for that red line, and with consideration of that red line, and, which will be part of this resolution 2019-10. I need someone to make a motion that we convey that property along Elm Street to Steve and Patricia Clovis.
Got a question first, Mayor.
So does that red line continue through the other properties too? Out front there?
Not to our knowledge.
Maybe until somebody doesn't know the title work.
That's a lot.
You may not know.
It's all the way down there. Kind of a straight line.
We won't know until title work is done on those other properties.
Oh.
Not on my side of the street.
Yeah, it's on your side too.
No, we bought ours, there's nothing.
It actually does.
Supposedly.
If you look at the survey drawing in the packet, it actually does continue north and it gets smaller, tapers off, but they're not dealing with that property right now, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
thank you for the clarification. If it does continue to extend north, in the event that the Ziegler property is sold, then we would get that cleaned up at that point.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2019-10.
A second.
For the
That would just
one
be
line
the,
along Elm Street. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. 16 now will convey the tie-shaped part, and also part of resolution 2019-10 for $500 payable to the city from Patricia and Steve Colmus. Any questions? Need a motion?
I'll make a motion for.
Moved and seconded to approve that conveyance of that property with a fee of $500. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 16A, phase adapter, that must be right in here too. Is that the Irby thing?
Yeah.
Yes. I'll leave the lights off since my report is next.
Basically what an anaphase is when somebody has a phase going on their service line, going to the electrical line going to their house, instead of having to run a temporary wire over the ground and the homeowner taking an outage for a while, this you can actually just, it's on a two-wheel cart, you wheel it up, it's got its own little transformer, you hook it up to the meter, and they have 3 phases. They'll get their 120, 240 back, and you can go back and work on trying to find where the fault was in the underground and fix that line. So that basically what it's going to do is minimize the outage for the customer, and you won't have that safety issue of having an electric line over the ground for possibly a week, sometimes just because you're waiting to get wire in or trying to get the ground's too wet that you can't dig it in yet. So that's what it is for. Any questions? Concerns?
Does this happen a lot that you'd have to,
This year we've had like 6 already.
you did?
Is that a cable line? Take it from a
It's
power source?
yeah, it's like basically it's just got a little, when you hook it up into you plug it into where the meter socket is, and then that basically feeds that transformer, and then it gives you back that other phase.
So is there 1 or 2? What is this?
That's just, there's 2 different ones, but the one's for a 100 amp service and the other one's for an 80 amp service, but
It's just $25.
Do the 100 if you're gonna.
we'd get the 100 amp one.
Oh, so it's 28.
For $25.
It'd just be the one of them,
Okay, yeah.
not both of them.
Yep, we just do the one for $2,825.
Okay.
Plus tax.
That sounds good. I don't know.
I think it'd be a good thing for customer service. Customers get back in business a whole lot faster, and that for a safety concern of not having that wire running across the lawn until it gets fixed.
Seems pretty inexpensive for one.
Yeah.
So this takes care of one house.
Right. Yeah, if you have more than one, then obviously,
You have to
you'll
wait.
have to run wire over the ground for the next one, but the chance of having 2 at once are fairly slim, but.
Yeah. You're saying you want to buy Joel 2 of them?
No.
Come on.
Any more questions? Need a motion to approve
I
the,
so move we buy this.
I'll second.
the move and second to purchase the 100 amp service for 2025
Plus tax.
plus tax.
What is it? Mine says 28, 25.
Yep.
Oh,
That one,
yeah.
Tax would be $160-ish.
half of that 360 almost.
Okay.
Be added to it, plus sales tax. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, council.
Staff reports, city administrator, financial statements, 3-minute overview.
Yeah, look, I got the drift last meeting.
At least he did it. Just
At
email.
least I updated them this time. All right, let's do this. So in the general fund here, for the expenses for the last month, we had the Lions Park fencing, which was done. We got the yellow cap on it. We've had a lot of compliments on that. It's looking good. We did a partial payment on the server and computer and laptop replacement that'll happen in City Hall. Our assessing services are through Renville County, and that contract was paid. That was $7,255 and some change for that, and that's an annual cost. That's once a year, and it's been about that for quite some time. And all the departments you'll see here, work comp insurance came in, and so that's been paid for. We had our pool startup costs, which happened as well, and then we did replace the overhead doors at the Lions Park, the big red shelters. We've had a couple of head injuries last year, and then I heard anecdotal stories about other people almost being taken out by those doors. Seem to be possessed. So those have been replaced, and those are looking good, so we'll avoid that in the future. On the revenues end of things, ambulance revenues are coming in slightly above target, but we'll see how the rest of the year goes, and community center revenues are at 81.6% of total projected revenue. So we're far above in our rent revenues than where we should be at this point. We should be at about a little over 41% for 5/12 of the year, and we're at 81%. So doing well in community center rents. In the water fund, we had a well pump that needed to be repaired, which was completed. Again, work comp paid, and then on the water fund revenues end of things, normal and expected so far. On the wastewater funds side of things, normal expected, and then work comp paid was all that's it, and then normal expected on the revenue side of things. Storm sewer fund, normal expected on both ends. I think we only had like $167 worth of expenses in the storm sewer last month. And the electric fund, purchased the new FR clothing, got all that taken care of, canceled and closed out the Cintas contract for the clothing, so we'll start saving a bunch of money now. Work comp was paid, and then normal expected revenues on the electric side. On the natural gas fund side of things, work comp was about the only thing out of line there. Everything else normal and expected. And then the investments in cash balances for the current month and the prior. Any questions on the financial report?
What is work comp on everyone? What does that mean?
Workman's compensation insurance.
You have to pay it separate on every?
Each fund, I think, pays portion.
Yep,
Oh.
each department, each fund pays for a
Okay.
portion of it.
Because they all work on, all the city workers work on, and I think their salaries are proportional too.
Yep.
Not one fund pays their wages, it gets allocated all per.
Okay.
Yep, that's exactly it, because everybody's time is spent in various departments. It gets split out between all of them. Any other questions I can field? If not, that's what I have for that report. So then going into my other report, this will take a little bit longer. I am sad to announce that we did not get the DNR Outdoor Recreation Grant that I had applied for. I talked to the grant people. They said it was a very competitive year. They had about $6.7 million in requests with about $3.6 million doled out. They said they were able to fund about 1/3 of the applications that actually came in. They said ours was competitive, it just didn't quite meet the threshold of enough compared to everyone else's that came in. So what does that mean? We had $245,000 in the 2019 budget to do park projects. Half of that was planned to be paid for by the grant. Since we didn't get the grant, and then the remainder was just city funds that were allocated. So what that means is, it's not that we can't do any projects, it's that we just have half the amount of money to work with since we didn't get the grant. So in your packets, I think it was one of the last things was the spreadsheet print off in there, so I will go over that. This was the master list of things we were looking at doing with all the grant funds. Things to Memorial Park, doing some landscaping, improving some sidewalks, electrical upgrades, playground renovations, things like that. The bulk of the work was to happen over at the ball field and grandstand. Find the spreadsheet there. Is it there? Here, pass it over quick. Grab yours. Thank you.
You're gonna mess over there.
So this is the original spreadsheet that was used to come up with that 245 and kind of allot the project cost and all of that. So on there, most of the project was in the ball field and grandstand area. Now that we have half the money to work with, about $122,500. I went through there and based upon what we had talked about last year with City Council and the needs between all those projects, my recommendations for the council will be to do the vast majority of the ball field and grandstand projects. I got some photos just to go over those of what the conditions are. Memorial Park and the park itself, not the ball field or grandstand, that can still ride for a while. It's still in decent enough condition where I'm not too concerned about anything on that end. I did from there go for, also recommend doing the electrical upgrade to the park shelters because we received a lot of complaints about if you get 4 more roasters going at the same time in there, you start blowing breakers. So just to host a little bit better event. So this is the grandstand bathrooms that we're looking at. Some of the work we're going to do is replace fixtures, so toilets, sinks, things of that nature, urinals, and then also epoxy, anti-slip epoxy floor over the concrete area to give it a better look. The whole thing needs to be cleaned. replacing some of the light fixtures as well, just doing all those general updates that need to happen to give it a better look. Again, replacing hand soap dispensers, sinks, and then fixing any of the plumbing that would need to be fixed as well. And I consulted with Mike Kicker on a lot of this.
How come the water's not running out of that toilet?
It's not on. Not on yet. Fixing all the fixtures. These are still good. They're still in good enough condition. We wouldn't have to replace those, but just what it looks like. And epoxy flooring, all of that. So it's not just bare concrete. Updating the urinals, getting some dividers in there, updating the plumbing as well. More flooring. Replacing fixtures. Garbage cans too. There's your running toilet, just in case. So the bathrooms are in sad condition, they really are. And then we get to some of the more, well, I'll call the serious stuff. This is the south wall of the grandstands. That section is shifting out of place. As part of these quotes, I spoke with John Deming of Deming Construction. He gave me the quotes to go ahead and do a lot of the tuck pointing structural work to get this all repaired. He said he would certainly do that for us. You can see cracks in the mortar and the brick, so all that would get repaired. We'd be replacing or at least repainting a lot of these, freshen them back up again. These are the accesses to the storage areas underneath. Some of the doors leading into the concession areas and other areas, get those replaced or at least painted. Plan is to replace those. With the signs, these are the original signs that were for the state tournament. They were done by Gary Schrader back in the day. He still has his sign business, so I've contacted him. What I'd love for him to do is take these, get these digitally scanned and then reprinted on vinyl. So vinyl cutouts, so we could preserve the original wood painted ones and then put up the replacement ones. They look exactly the same. They would just be on printed vinyl rather than on the hand painted wood, so we could keep those. Now you can see along the bottom, cleaning up a lot of the brick there from the staining that's happened. Similar, getting that all recreated. Replacing all the wood trim, the concession doors, getting those replaced as well. In the concession area, I've been talking with Dave Distad with the department, well, he was with the Renville County Public Health, thank you. And he informed us, and this was part of the grant application, is that he never really brought it up during the last couple of years when Lenny was still with us because he didn't want to throw that burden. But the concession area does not meet code for selling concessions. So as part of this is what we're proposing, even with the no grant option, would be to completely renovate the concession area. That would include NSF commercial grills, upright fridge, freezer, work tables, 3-bay sinks, FRP and glass board where it needs to be, epoxy floors, plumbing and electrical upgrades, and installation and inspections of all of that. But this, like the other doors, would replace these. The idea is to keep the grandstand looking as historic as it currently does. I don't want to lose that image of it, but these things do need to replace, but we'll try to be as true to the historic image of it as we can be. Cleaning up a lot of the staining that's happened along the bottom. Some more pictures. Some of the tuck pointing and brickwork that John Deming and Deming Construction would complete. Replacement of signs. And then along some of the areas, the glass block shattered in areas, mismatched in others, these would also get removed and replaced with glass block, just so they are all uniform, same looking. Mismatched, broken, mismatched. This is the one on the other side. Can even see in there.
That was last week.
Took these pictures a couple weeks ago. You can even see the mortar joints in there do need work. This is on the east side. Mortar joints needing work. And also part of the project was to replace all the seating. We would simply take off the existing board and then replace with new wood seating. A lot of it is needs to be painted for one. Some broke, some are warped. So it'd be taking off all the boards and putting new board back on. Some of the warped seating.
So that's all the seating then?
Yes, all of it. One thing I found is as soon as you only do parts of it, nothing makes something old look really old by like putting something new next to it. And once you do that, then you go, man, we should have done the rest. I've experienced that quite a bit. And also in there would be replacement of the Memorial Park scoreboard. The message board at the bottom is broken and does not work. And the Memorial Park scoreboard was purchased 25 years ago, I believe it was. So replacement of that would be it'd be a little smaller in size, but it'd be a fully digital scoreboard. So it'd all be run from the booth with graphics and things like that. Daktronics. Yep, a Daktronics type of arrangement. That's what I have for pictures. So go back to the spreadsheet. It would definitely be my recommendation. The playground equipment is still in decent condition. It's not going to degrade in the next handful of years. And some of the other projects in there, they'd be nice to do, but if we don't have the money for them, Memorial Park really isn't a necessary priority, kind of like the things at the ball field and grandstands are, with the way they're going. So my recommendation, and I don't necessarily need a motion on this, because we'll bring all these costs back together. But just general consensus that this would be the way council would feel we would go. If there's any questions about other things listed there, certainly happy to field those. Just having fielded myself, the grandstand and the ball field, they need the money before it gets a little too out of hand.
So that's what you're talking, the ball field and the grandstand?
Yep, what I propose at doing is doing the scoreboard replacement, the seating replacement, tuck pointing work.
Everything over here.
Yep.
Right.
Yes, I'd be proposing everything under the no grant column.
Right, I don't know, grant. Because originally they were gonna get enough grant to pay for.
cover everything.
Or half.
Yeah.
And then our half, now he just took it and said, well, that's half. And he says, okay, let's just do our half that we were gonna pay for anyway. That's in the budget that they approved last year for this year.
Well, a lot of it does look kind of crappy. I got a problem with the scoreboard. I don't know if that's worth 40 grand for a new scoreboard. I mean, is that important of a deal?
The message board on the bottom is
What
broken.
is the message board for?
So you can put the players' names up there,
Well, everything, yeah. you can
everything,
type
use it
in.
for advertising, whatever.
They sell advertising for that?
Huh?
They sell advertising?
Sponsors.
Well, they used to have sponsors for games, and then
Yeah.
they would put their names up there. Like I said, when teams come in, they put their lineups up there, Matt, and there's this guy, and
Gaylord is selling.
those signs are just not cheap. I would imagine back then, this one was probably about 25, 30 grand.
It was.
With the,
I remember Lenny telling me that it was about.
This original
they're
So
scoreboard.
it hasn't gone up that much actually in price
No.
since when they.
But it'll be a lot better than that one.
And right now it's ran by light bulbs.
Yeah, and it's all, the new one will be all LEDs, obviously.
and I think some of those don't work, and it's hard to get parts for them now. You can't. You just there's no
Those are usually
parts.
hot wires that makes it work.
Because there's no parts for it because it's that old. So they just
Can you put anything you want on the new electronic?
yes.
Yep.
So you could sell.
You could even put their picture up there.
Well, I mean, you could sell.
I don't know. I was the one who looked at it.
If it's the LED ones, I believe you can
It is.
put your,
It's-
you can put their picture
You can
up
do
there.
whatever you want on it.
Can you watch a movie on it?
Sure.
Movie night. Movie night in the park.
Probably not. Probably. Yeah, because Shavy would let anybody on the field. Oh, that's on camera.
Pick
too.
all the popcorn.
I mean, do we play that many games here that's that big a deal that we can show their face on the scoreboard? I mean, I've been to.
Well, you gotta have a scoreboard.
Okay.
And I don't think you're gonna buy anything that doesn't show more than 6 numbers for less than 10 grand. I mean, you might have a little bit of a team, outs, runs.
Sure.
Just, that's for 10 grand. You're not gonna get anything.
This is a nice park, I think.
Well, it's a nice park, but I've been to parks from here to South Dakota and I've seen a lot of scoreboards and I don't think I see that many fancy ones.
Well, they're around. I mean,
Yeah.
CPI's got them, New Ulm's got them, Springfield's got it. Springfield's got one that's probably more than that. I know they just put it in 2 years ago. And it's
Yeah, I'm
a
just
third
saying,
bigger
if
than
you
that.
wanted to offset some of that cost, you could sell some
Yeah.
advertising on the
Right.
scoreboard.
While you're having the game going in
Yeah.
between, you could have advertisements flash on it.
Bird Island has one that's less than 10 years, I know for sure, because they had a state tournament.
Like Joel had mentioned, that scoreboard back in the day was 25, 30,000. And then the message board got added on afterwards, which I'm not sure what the cost of that was. So completely digital one is gonna be about 10 grand more, I would venture.
The only difference
And it
was
was
back
25
then is I think the gambling fund paid for some of that.
And I was
Out of the
gonna ask
baseball
that, would the baseball association be able to,
The Baseball Association did say they would be willing to pitch in.
if they could pitch in some?
They didn't have a dollar amount that they said they would, but they said they'd be willing to pitch in.
You know,
That'd be
that's how, I know the lights were, a majority of that was paid by the gambling funds down there. And probably half the scoreboard was Saff City, maybe, I can't remember the ratio. But the gambling fund paid for the baseball, paid for, like I said, all the lights. And actually, most of the dugouts and stuff were done too out there. So a lot of that park there, that's there, and the sprinkling system put in, a lot of that whole baseball park, you know,
Was funded by the
it was
gambling.
probably 60% funded, where most cities like Sleepy Eye and all, they fund all of it. 100% of it. So, you know, I think they should probably throw some money in. I don't know what the number is. But I think they
But if they
should.
could help with this 123, it'd be,
Well, I think it's part of that scoreboard, because it's basically the grandstand area and other things, the bathrooms, everything, that's used by general park residents. That's just, you know, so the grandstand is, you know, there's other purposes it's being used for and things where the thing there is specific to baseball or baseball activities.
Yep.
You know, so. I
And the
think-
association did say they'd put in.
Yeah,
I'm not-
I think they should.
I'm not sure what their financial condition is, but I'm sure they'll be more, they said they'd be more than happy to help pay. I just don't know what that dollar figure is, but they would. So other than the ball field and grandstand, would be proposing doing the electrical upgrades at the Memorial Park shelters, and then also at the bottom there for the Lions Park, large sign, the old Lions Park sign. Got it partially deconstructed already, so there'd be funding available to get the rest of that redone.
The only other thing I would really like to see done would be the concrete walkway and bordering the Memorial Park. If we could find a way to swing that, if the Baseball Association could pick up some of that scoreboard, maybe we can throw that in there.
We can certainly look at that, see how much the Baseball Association's looking in, and we can adjust.
I don't know what you guys are planning on doing there. What was the original?
We were gonna kind of go, make more of a pathway to the playground and
From the shelters there.
from the shelters to the playground and up to the sidewalk by the
Wasn't
pool.
there kind of a?
Where the blacktop is
Yeah.
right now, that would get removed. You'd actually just put a concrete walkway going kind of straight over.
something that,
And then you'd have it going actually a concrete path leading to the playground area, so it'd be a little bit more ADA accessible. So they wouldn't have to, you know, if you had somebody that had some disabilities, they could at least wouldn't have to go rough housing through the grass and,
Yeah.
you know, make it a little bit easier and more accessible for other people.
Yeah, because there's no walkway going to the other shelters.
There you go.
So this is what we'd be talking about. So the plan for what had originally been the scope of it is now on the west end here, we do have the sidewalk that's now there. There was this existing asphalt walkway that led up to the corner of the pool. Now that we have the sidewalk in place here, we would have proposed putting a new walk straight in, would join up to the south side of the south shelter. It would extend straight out. It would join up with the park. There would be a transition statement to get in there. We'd do a jog to the south. We'd open up the entrance here a little bit more so you can get into the basketball area. Then it would run straight north past the north shelter, hop across here, join up with the sidewalk here, and then the existing one would follow the rest of the way to the bathrooms. And what that would then do is make all of these, all of this area ADA accessible, because right now it is not. And that would be the purpose of the new concrete walkways. And then the bordering would just be simply doing a 3-foot concrete border around the structures. So right now it just drops right down onto the dirt and it's killed all the grass around it. That's more of an aesthetic.
So is that in here?
No, not currently. It's
It was basically part of the whole project.
Okay,
But since the
Roughly
half
got axed, yeah.
the grant wasn't approved, so we had, he said, what do I want to add to make it half we already had budgeted, and what are we going to give up that it's not?
But that's a good idea.
Yeah.
It is, and the grant program really likes to see those ADA improvements.
Yeah.
That's why it was in there, so
I do
that
too.
adds a lot of points in there. Now, because we didn't get it this round, we can certainly reapply for it next year. We're not one and done on this. So next year, if we do the grandstand improvements, we can submit another grant application for the remaining. Which I think, if you took out some of the stuff, the grandstand stuff, I think it'd still be a very strong application again for next year if we wanted to go after that.
Sure.
And go for grant money again.
And sometimes when they get too big, they like to get the best bang for the buck, So they see the scoreboard or something around it. Maybe something's more important over here. I can do 3 smaller ones that's all ADA helpful, but over here it's too much. So, I don't know what to think when they go through those applications, but
Yeah.
in my mind, they try to get as many projects done that help the essentials first.
Like Josh said, if the baseball association could pay for some of the scoreboard, there'd be money there to.
Or we could try again next year too.
Yeah.
If we have
Well,
some of these
ask
others
them,
don't
maybe
know.
next meeting, they can let us know what they're willing to throw in
Yep.
for a scoreboard.
And if council's really bent on doing it, reminder, we did get that $166,000 put into the electric fund from Compass. That could be diverted over to, part of it, not all of it, but some of it could be diverted over to the general fund to pay for some of these things, if you really wanted to go that route. That's an eligible use of the monies, just as an option.
Well, what's the council say?
I think we should figure out what they can donate for the scoreboard first, and then.
Are we okay with everything but the
Yeah,
scoreboard?
yeah.
I mean, everybody's okay but the scoreboard, right? Yes,
Yeah.
no?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, then we gotta find out what we're gonna get next meeting, because some of this stuff they gotta get going on, right?
Yeah,
I mean, can't wait for another meeting, and before you know it, you're in August,
Yep.
And some of this stuff has gotta get,
But some of the stuff with the grandstand, we have to weave into the schedule of the baseball team.
Well, I get that,
Ripping
but I
out
mean,
seats and things like that.
but, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them will be late till August when they're, it's not being used, but
I
there
would
might
say-
be something in here that can be done, we might as well say we're okay with that. Is that everybody's consensus?
Yeah.
Since it's already in budget form, but everything but the scoreboard, we'll talk about that
Yep.
when we get more information. Anybody got any thoughts for or against it yet? John?
No, we're good.
Okay. All right, that's done. What do we got next? We got the superintendent.
Oh, I didn't say I was done.
Oh, you good, John? Short say, 3 minutes, just keeps going, though.
That was the biggest one. We talked about the boulevards, so we're done with that. We talked about our grants, we're done with that. One thing I do need to bring up is I was contacted by the school district as part of the presentation that I did, that was requested by the school district for the referendum process. They had asked for site availabilities between that 30 and 40 acre size. I did produce 4 of those for consideration. One of them was the existing site of the GFW Middle School, and then adding on Lions Park. For that, and that would create about 35.25 acres. The school district came back and would like to know is would there be any financial compensation the city would want to seek in the event that one school would be placed in Fairfax. My recommendation would be, from a taxing standpoint, if you ask for money for the site, you're essentially if it's not something we just give over, they're just going to build into the cost of the referendum, which taxes the citizens anyway.
Yeah. So if we give it over.
If you give it over.
I think they're gonna build a new school there. I think, to me, in the end, I don't know if they're gonna quite need that much area. And I think the reason why they want that many acres probably is because they're looking at ball fields and football and tracks and all that in one area, or a lot of that. Well, you got 2 softball fields, so that's already there, so that they need less acres. So I don't think it's going to be a great amount of acres that we would have to.
And this isn't something we would actually do until if it actually happened. We wouldn't give them the land now by any means.
They just want to know if.
They want to know if it would come to pass, would the city want any financial compensation for the land?
I might it'd be very minimal, if any.
Yeah, I would say no.
Then I'll return that answer to the school district. All right, keep posting on. We got the Days of Thunder flyer in the utility bills. Next month will be National Night Out. We got the phone system changed over. We've had some issues with that, not major ones, but we're getting the kinks worked out. Joel and I met with Utilities Plus, the engineers for the substation improvement project, so we're starting to work on that. It looks like full completion will be done next year in the spring. We'll get some engineering work starting to go here. We'll come back to council, but you kind of treat it like a Highway Street project, in that they'll bring plans and they'll do feasibility reports, and they'll authorize plans and specifications, approve those, go out for bids, and then the work will take place next year on that. And then next month on the meeting, we'll probably have the audit. We'll most likely have policy recommendations back for the community center and alcohol use. Might have something back for the attachment O stuff from Compass, and then we should have some actionable items regarding the Hauser property. With that, that's my report.
Okay.
Everybody else has got 2 minutes.
Superintendent of Streets and Utilities, you're up.
We've basically been working on, we got all our parks sprayed with weed killer with 2,4-D. We've been working on, we had an outage this last month, which you probably all are aware of, and we kind of had New Ulm come and help us out with that. We did not find any cables underground that were bad, so which is good, and it kind of came down to a couple transformers that were failed, so that's kind of where we're at with it, and that's what we found anyway, since all the cables were good. So Lions Park fence is up. We got all the yellow tile over the top of the outfield fence line, and full fence lines up to the infield at least. We did it up to that point. If they want more, we can always do more, but we'll leave it at that for now. Other than that, just sweeping streets, keeping up with mowing. Been doing an LED light replacement around town yet. Hopefully we'll get that done this summer here. So
Pool heater and everything working good?
pool is going good, the heater's going good. I had a guy come and check it out before we started up, and everything was good. So no issues yet with it.
No leaks or anything?
Well, there's always a leak.
I was on the council
there is a
6
small
years.
leak.
It seems like about every 3
Just
years,
give
it's
it
like,
time.
oh my God.
There is a leak, but as soon as it drops below the skimmers, it doesn't leak any water, so we're adding water constantly to it, so it's been that way for 6 years. So, other than that, yeah, everything else is going pretty good, so.
The utility bill for the pool for this month for startup, it was only $4,181.
I'm sure the furnace never shut off for the first 2 weeks.
Pool startup is always the expensive part.
Yep, with the chemicals and the gas, just to get it heated, so. No, everything is going good though. With the pool and parks, we're doing good, so.
Is that painting done on the pool house? Is that how it's gonna look?
No,
Oh,
she's gotta come back and finish it, she's
Okay.
not totally complete on it, so. I'm just got the lifeguards as soon as I can get a few to paint some curbs around town, so hopefully I can get a few of them rounded up before Fairfax stays here, we can get the uptown at least painted up so it looks decent. Get the yellow and the blue painted, so. And then I did talk to the guy on, what day was it? Just the other day about the striping over on Park Street, and we're gonna go with a greater angle and a little bit wider stalls, so.
Good. Yeah.
So I talked to him about that, so we'll get everything taken care of on that street. At least we'll wait till this street wears off,
Yeah.
and obviously they're gonna be redoing this possibly within the next 5 years, the county road, so. Other than that, that's about it.
Okay, last month we had 158 calls or events. I did itemize a couple of them, just so you guys are aware of what's going on. And we are in the process, right now we had interviews, we had 8 applicants for school resource officer, and we limited it down to 1. And that person was gonna get a phone call tonight to see if he actually wanted the job. So I'll let you guys know who that is next month. Any questions?
so the, behind the old Dairy Frost, is that how that's gonna stay?
I
it's-
hope not.
I mean, it's another junkyard. Is that
Well, he is moving cars around, so.
around?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how else to handle it actually, but,
Maybe something we have to update our ordinances to have a bit more.
because that is a
Commercial.
commercial
It is
lot.
commercial, so you can have junk sitting around with wheels on.
Well,
It's just like the camper lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least the wheels are on.
Should it be some like updated tabs, license?
Yeah. I mean,
We
it's
tried that with the campers that one year, remember that?
That's almost gotta be different though for a dealership. though.
If he's got a dealer's license, he probably can't do
Still
anything.
need to have the license up to date.
you would think. I mean, I don't know, what do you guys think? We got another junkyard in the middle of town.
Hey,
Holy crap.
Well, anybody who drives through town sees it too.
Yes.
Right there.
Dude.
Oh, that's something you would like Aaron and I to start working on, because the police enforcement powers are only as strong as our ordinances.
Yes, very good.
now why don't you review
Something
that
has to be done.
and see what can be handled there.
So is this, we can get more details, but this is on commercial property?
Right.
All right, so we updated the parking.
Residential.
restriction. Yeah,
yep.
there. All right.
Yeah, it's right off the highway there.
Right off at 19 as you go that way. If you want to buy a trailer or a camper,
A camper, you can get one.
you can maybe buy them all.
Guaranteed to have water damage.
Any other items here that we need, went through the information only is in the packet. I didn't see anything real big in there. Any other council concerns? If none,
Mr.
Joel. The fire is gonna be put out. We gotta do something about it.
I can add more water to it, but I've been trying. I've been adding water.
It's gotta be put out.
It's smoldering.
Smoldering and smoldering and
We
smoldering.
spread it out today to help it so the rain would hit it.
You gotta spread it out.
We did today.
It's piled up.
He spread it out this morning.
It's burning good now.
Well, it's gonna, cause it's heated back up, you open it up to oxygen, so it's gonna heat back up.
Throwing stuff on it.
Huh?
I seen people, 2 people.
Well, I can't control people throwing stuff on
You
it.
gotta put it out. Or it's gonna, all summer be like that. And then there's gonna be medical bills and.
I'll do the best I can. I'll go down there to the fire truck again and put some water on it. The rain helped today, so.
That didn't do nothing. It makes it worse. It's gotta be put out now, you know. That rain on it, just drizzle, it's worthless.
We will try and get it tomorrow. I'll water it down with the truck again.
Take 2 loads out there.
All right,
Have the airplane fly over.
Dump a tank of water on it.
That's what I'll do tomorrow.
Yeah.
It'd be easier.
Tanker.
Just dump her over. We will take care of it.
all right. Any in the future, is there anything to look at to maybe put a pump to there to the pond? Is that too far?
There is a dry hydrant at the pond.
I mean, it would be, you know, that way you can consistently kind of common, while you're not running trucks back and forth, and, you know, if you run a pump off there with a line,
What if you dug a hole and buried it?
anyway, I'm
I
just
think-
talking about for future.
No, I get that. I think
You know
what
I'm saying?
really caused this one this time is because we had a tree company in town and they dumped all the wood chips in there. So now your wood chips are smoldering is what the issue is. Otherwise, if it would have just all been all brush,
Like it
it would
has
have
been in
burnt
the
up and
past,
been
it's
done.
never been.
And
So-
usually it's not
Maybe we're gonna have
smoldering.
another sign up there to try to get people.
Well, and there's been a lot of garbage dumped out there again. There was a chair and some other stuff again just this past week, so over the weekend. It's, nobody can read the sign when they drive in. They're always dumping garbage out there, so. And there's a baby pool and other garbage bags out there. So.
Pretty soon we'll have to have it closed for certain hours.
Well, that's the other thing.
No, let us know if it keeps getting worse or something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Take pictures too? No,
Yeah,
don't be
I
afraid
usually
to-
do take pictures and I
Don't be
try to
afraid
send them
take
to
pictures.
Scott.
Things, but I end up saying nothing, because nothing is done about it.
With what now?
I say I do see certain things that go
Yeah.
by or happen out there, but I ain't gonna say nothing because,
Yeah, I try to take pictures of all the garbage and send them to Scott, and so those guys are aware of it also.
All right, that, need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second to adjourn, all those in favor say aye. Motion carries.